Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and we're producing this episode for GoodCrowd.info. And our guests today are David Eros and Atila. Atila
Uri.
Atila Uri. I'm sorry. They've joined us from Serbia, all the way from Serbia, and I blew it. Atila, I'm sorry. Attila was reminding me that his name is pronounced just like Attila the Hun, and all I could get in my mind then was Attila the Hun, which would be an interesting guest, but is not in fact our guest today. So anyway, I apologize, Attila, for messing up your name. But we are excited to have you on the show. You two have created a new fashion brand that you call Choose. David, why don't you take a minute and tell us about the mission of Choose?
Yeah, and as you have mentioned, Choose is an experimental fashion brand. It's a startup, but it's just as much a grassroots movement. So it's an entirely new way of activism. That's our goal with it. We would all like to do something for a better world, to help those in need or to protect our environment. The problem really starts when it comes to actually doing something. In the haste of our daily lives, if a solution is not intuitive enough, then it's very probable that we won't use it at all. And we all know that hunger-related problems kill thousands of children every day in Africa, and that rainforests are disappearing at a very fast rate. Yet most of us do almost nothing about it. And it's not because of a lack of empathy or goodwill, but because we live in a heavily consumeristic society, and the current solution out there are simply not pre-packaged for this lifestyle. And I think there is a huge gap between the commercial and the non-profit sector that has to be bridged. And fortunately, there are now more and more sustainable and fair trade fashion business models in general, as well in the fashion industry. But we wanted to bring this consumer activism, as I would call it, to a new level. So the basic idea was that we ditch almost entirely the traditional advertising, and instead of spending on ads, we would plant trees, feed children, and provide access to clean water. So, of course, people have to hear somehow about us, and as we don't have ads, the main drive of our marketing is word of mouth and social media pods fueled by goodwill. Social media will hopefully help us a lot. I'm sure that this story in this form wouldn't be possible without the internet. So this is an interesting time. This is probably the beginning of some of things like this. So we rely on goodwill in people to share our story, and by ditching traditional.
Now, Attila, maybe you could address for a minute how you'll do your pricing. Will you just raise the prices and charge more for your products to pay for all of the social good things you're going to do?
No, not at all. We just don't pay for advertising. That's it. So all the money that would go to advertising for the billboards, newspaper, television ads, that money is directly put into the donation fund of Choose.
That's great. So how much money, Dave, do you think you'll be able to donate from each shirt? Can you give us some idea or for each clothing item or as a percent of revenue? Well, how do you think about this?
We wanted to come up with a metric system that tells more than just a numeric, that tells more than just a nominal value or a percentage. It tells exactly the number of trees being planted, or the number of children being fed, or the number of months of how many for how many months we can provide water to someone in the drought-stricken areas. And these numbers are based on real world statistics, and they are all backed by our partner organizations. So the thing is that, for example, a single hoodie can plant 93 trees, or a t-shirt can provide water for 46 months for someone, and it is almost 4 years, or feed 20 children for a day. For example, we have a sweater that can plant 102 trees, and it sounds really amazing. It's unbelievable, but it's true. It's almost like a mini forest, but that's how much billboards and magazine ads cost us when we recalculate it per product. So
Yeah.
I really hope that there are people out there to whom the planting of 1.5 million trees would mean more, and it would be more convincing than an ad in a top Russian magazine, because that's pretty much if you recalculate to in that terms.
Yeah, yeah. So how have you gone about choosing your causes?
Choosing our causes was very simple. We thought of the things that were needed. I mean, we thought of Africa in Haiti, the lack of drinking water, the lack of food, and deforestation is at very high stakes. So we consider that these things should be the causes that we should cover. And then we partnered with selected organizations with whom we have an agreement on. We have a monthly impact report where every month we state out the impact from every sold product.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning these impact reports are public. And what I would just like to add to what Attila said is that we try to choose causes. These 3 causes are chosen in a way that they cover a range of problems. So, for example, the tree planting projects, we are doing it through the Eden reforestation projects. They are among the biggest ones in this field. And the interesting story about this is that it's not just about an environmental issue. It's also supporting a social issue by hiring people from low-income communities in Nepal, Madagascar, Ethiopia, and Haiti. So it really helps them break the cycle of poverty in more dimensions, on more levels. And this applies for the rest of the causes, like for the drinking water. We all know that drinking water basically affects everything. And the feeding programs are made through the World Food Program, and these are school meal projects. So it also boosts education rates, and so we try to cover as many problems and causes as possible with these.
I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'm excited about seeing you become successful. Now, you're going to launch this with a crowdfunding campaign starting next week. Attila, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. We are launching on the 9th of February. That's why we have all the hype now. We are working around the clock. How can I say? We have a few ambassadors already on the project who can't wait to share our story. We've been planning this launch a few months. So it is like we are delaying it the third time, but now we think that it will happen, that we are ready to launch.
Good. So how will people find it on Indiegogo on February 9th?
We will share it, of course, on all of our social media. We will have it maybe on Collective Evolution as well.
Okay.
And through all of our ambassadors' friends, we really hope that they will share this story, as it is the only way that can work.
And I guess they could also search for CH8SE, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like choose, just instead of the 2 O's, we have an 8, like a rotated infinity.
Yes, it's brilliant branding. I think that's going to be exciting. So I want to just get a sense of some of the fashion. Do you have any of the items there you can show us, or can you at least tell us a little bit about some of the clothing items you'll be selling?
Of course, just a moment.
Just a moment, yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Dave, while Attila runs to get something?
So that's one thing that we want to have an impact as a brand through our donations, but we also want to have an impact through all of our activities. So we try to incorporate into our production a lot of recycled materials and processes that are environmentally friendly. And for example, the new thing that our packaging will be made by mentally disabled young people who otherwise would have a really hard time to earn a living. So we try to incorporate something into every element of Choose. We try to make a fashion brand that really is about creating a change in the world, and that's in the center of the products, of the story, of the designs themselves. We try to create designs that are communicating a little bit deeper level than most of the commercial designs do. And
I don't know if you can see.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, guys, I want to just take a minute, perhaps. Yeah, show me the back. Show us the back. What have you got on the back there?
That's the little chooser. We call it a chooser.
Ah, the chooser. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
well,
holding hands like this. It's like a symbol of people, of what people are capable of. That we just have to be
to unlock the power.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Dave, maybe you could just take a minute, and I'd like to get personal with you guys a little bit and ask you, as you achieve success, you become a role model, but I wonder who you look up to as a role model. Who inspires you?
Can you?
I will try to. So the thing is that, as I told earlier, that through the years we are changing. So we had role models and these role models change as well. So right now, it's very hard to think of like who would be mine. I will have to pass it. Maybe David has. But
what about you, David? Have you got someone in mind?
Well, it's not easy at all because whomever I pick, it would be unfair to people. Yeah? But I try not to admire people, but rather to admire deeds and so everyone has a brighter side and a less bright side. So I think that we shouldn't look at people like they are the heroes. We should get inspiration from them, and I think that that's at least this is my opinion. That's my worldview.
Okay. Well, let me ask you guys, David, maybe you can go first, but tell us why you care about solving world problems. What is it personally about you that makes you want to solve these problems?
It's an interesting question. I am a financial mathematician otherwise, and the normal course for my career would be to work for a bank, and that just doesn't seem to me, from a moral standpoint, to be that fulfilling. To work for a huge, pretty heartless industry, huge machinery, and this, what we are trying now to do with Choose, is something that I can wholeheartedly stand behind, and I think this is much more fulfilling, and this is basically why I chose to do this and chose this to be a career path for me.
What about you, Atila? Why do you care?
It is working years in the humanitarian sector. We were doing donations all across the Balkans as well, and seeing the people after a simple flood. There was a flood, for instance, and seeing through what people went through after a flood. I can't even imagine how it is in Africa, where they don't even have water for sanitation, they don't even have food, much harder circumstances, and generally it's a very similar story to David's, as I'm an engineer, and I think that the world needs us for this path that we are on right now.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, one of the things I ask all of our guests for is what I call an impact hack, some tip or suggestion that would help us all do more good. David, what do you suggest?
Well, I believe that in this fundamentally consumer society, our best tool for making a change is conscious consumerism. I really believe this. We are not deciding our fate at the voting ballots. That serves for creating an illusion of choice. However unromantic it may sound, we are shaping our future, our world at the cash registers. And that's why we really have to be very cautious about what are we going to support with our money, with our consumer choices, because that's how the world operates. And it may sound unromantic, but that's it. And I think it's very important not to try to be heroic about. It's not about that. It's about being a consistent, everyday activist. It's important that we all take our part in building a brighter future on whatever scale we can. And as Mother Teresa said, if you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. Well, I think that with truth we will be able to feed thousands. It's in modest hope, but
I hope so. I hope so. Attila, what about you? What's your impact hack?
I always guide myself with one of Gandhi's quotes on being the change you want to see. So that's why in all the aspects of my everyday, I try to act in a socially and environmentally conscious way. So the focus is on consistency. One good example is that I never fire up my car when the temperature is above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Till then, I'm on my bike. So commuting on a bike is a perfect way of reducing your environmental footprint and while keeping your body and mind in shape. So
that's great.
That's it. Sit on your bike and start pedaling.
I love that one. I sold my car so that now I have to walk everywhere I go. If I don't ride a bike, I walk, take the train. So I think that's a great impact hack. So thank you. Listen, gentlemen, before we wrap up, tell people how they can connect with you, how they can find you on social media, find you on the internet. We don't want people to lose track of you, especially before the crowdfunding campaign starts next week.
Well, the easiest way is to go to our website. That's ch8se.com. So choose again, yeah, with instead of the double, the rotated eight. So and they will find everything there. But if they just type into Google the ch8se, then they will pretty much everything. It will be about us because it's an uncommon name. So.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here with us today. We wish you every success with your crowdfunding campaign next week.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure being here.
All righty. Let's do some good.